It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day.
Welcome in on a very busy Friday. The Tigers finally get an easy one, and Penny gets to 100. And by the way, gets his first technical foul. That was pretty amazing. Grizz and their road trip tonight in Minneapolis will pick the winner of that game. We got our pick six coming up. The NFL Final Four is finally here. That's going to be really a fun Sunday for sure. But tonight the story will be, and obviously it's being orchestrated to occur at 6 o'clock tonight, the video release of the Tyree Nichols, I don't know any other way to say it, but the beating by the descriptions that we've heard from people who have seen the video. And I don't think there's a coincidence. I think Steve Mulroy and Mayor Jim Strickland decided the release of this tape would occur after business hours when there's no Grizzlies game, when there's no Tigers game, when they have canceled all high school extracurricular activities. This tape is damning. It's terrible. It's tragic. It's sad. It's scary. And its release is being strategically done. And I don't want to be one of those people, because I read this today where the media is sort of self-prophesizing, making this thing happen, where there's going to be riots and there's going to be issues. And I certainly hope that is not the case. And Tyree Nichols' family, his mother in particular, has said, protest, but please do it peacefully, because that is what Tyree would want. So I hope that is the case. But I say to all of you tonight after 6 o'clock, when this awful video is going to be released, please, all of you, be careful. Know where you are. Be conservative. Be preventative. Look around. Be careful. Be smart. Because I really have no idea what is going to happen after 6 o'clock. Sad news, basketball world. Billy Packer passed away at the age of 82. Pretty good life. His father was a college coach at Lehigh. He followed in the business. He was a good player, all ACC in the early 60s at Wake Forest. I think his original goal was to be a coach. He had no idea he was going to become a broadcaster. Then his first broadcasting gig, I believe began in 1972. He never put down the mic until 2008. His final game was the Tigers championship game with Kansas in San Antonio, 2008. That's a pretty good run. He did 30 Final Fours, 30.
I read this morning that the game before that, the semifinal game, it was North Carolina and Kansas. And with 10 minutes left to go in the first half, Kansas is up by a lot. He goes, oh, this game's over. And then North Carolina came back and ended up being really close at the end.
Right.
So I think that, according to his Wikipedia page, that was a controversial moment that might have led to them replacing him.
He honestly had several controversial moments. He was an irascible kind of a guy. He was not like – there's no doubt that Al McGuire was a sweetheart of a guy. Great coach, very unique guy, kind of a loner, but in a charismatic way. And, they formed what was considered the dream team of broadcasting at that time. You had McGuire, you had Dick Enberg as the play-by-play announcer, who was as good a play-by-play guy as any generation. I mean, he's amongst the greats of all time, in my estimation. Technically, interestingly, storytelling, nuts and bolts. Enberg had it all. And then you had Packer, who was sort of the more than nuts and bolts kind of a guy, analytical, certainly more opinionated than the other two were. Whereas he took it more seriously, I think, than did McGuire or Enberg. And they did what is considered the highest-rated Final Four in the history of college basketball, which I didn't think. I always thought the highest-rated game might have been Kareem and Elvin Hayes. That was UCLA in Houston. And that was one of the first games that was syndicated, so maybe they couldn't get the numbers. But the 1979 final between Bird and Magic, that's Indiana State, Michigan State. How about that? No major market involved in that. Although Detroit's a pretty big city. But French Lick, not so. Anyway, 35.1 million viewers. Which when I read that, I actually thought that was on the low side. I thought it would have been higher, to be totally honest. But that's the highest rated Final Four. He did that. The Dream 3 did that game, 1979, where Magic finally was able to put the clamps on Bird. I'll tell you one thing nobody knows about with Dick Enberg. I didn't see it in any story, but I remember this. He started, well, first of all, his main business beyond broadcasting was real estate. Smart guy. I think he made a lot of money. But he also started to syndicate TV programs. And with some of those programs, he actually was the host. And I don't know if you can YouTube these or not. Maybe you can. But Billy Packer did a syndicated TV-like circuit of putt-putt. And they literally had pro putt-putt people. And they had standings, and they would win money each week, and they would go to little different towns with putt-putt. Because putt-putt is a brand. It's miniature golf is different. Putt-putt is miniature golf, but it is a specific type. And he had a syndicated TV show with the best putt-putt players in America. And they would literally come from all over the country to participate, and he'd video it, and they would interview the guys, and it was kind of compelling for a little bit. I don't think it lasted long. Did you see any of that, or have you ever heard of it?
No, the only thing that comes to mind when you say that is the precursor to Holy Moly, the show with what's the broadcaster that does Holy Moly? Joe Tessitore.
Joe Tessitore, yeah,
and the comedian that does it with him.
I think that show's terrible, actually.
They had the Muppets on this year, though, Dave. The Muppets didn't make you buy into Holy Moly.
No,
Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog.
I must confess, I missed that one. They didn't promote it well enough, apparently. That's actually on ABC, right? That's not even on ESPN.
It's not. It's on ABC.
Hey, what do you think they paid Joe Tessitore to do that?
Oh, a lot. Gave him a gold jacket, the old school gold ABC jackets.
Right. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. He was Monday Night Football.
He was.
To that. He's a great boxing announcer, really.
He is.
That's what I think is his best sport. Anyway, Billy Packer passing away at the age of 82 and 30 years doing Final Fours. Nance is doing his last one this year, right?
That's correct.
Did he get 30?
I'll look it up.
I don't think he did. He took over for Brent Musburger. They let Brent do his final four. I think that was after that he was getting fired. They couldn't come to terms. They were really fed up with Brent Musburger, and they knew they had Jim Nance in the wings. I don't know if they realized it would be this long of a ride, but they gave Nance that gig then, and he's had it ever since.
33 years.
So that's the longest, I think.
Maybe that's why he was comfortable stepping down at this point, because he has the record.
I still don't understand that one. I don't know why they, he got his new long-term deal. He's still going to do golf and the NFL. I don't know why he was forced. I think he was forced to give up the college basketball. I do. I don't think that was his wish. He's not doing that many games. Maybe they were worried they were going to lose Ian Eagle. I don't know. But
is that who took over? Was Ian Eagle?
Ian Eagle's going to be
That's a great one
the new main voice. He's terrific, but I don't understand why Nance got let go. Anyway, we digress here. It's sad because now all three of those guys are gone. Enberg, McGuire, and Packer, and Billy passes away at the age of 82. Back to the Tigers and SMU last night. So finally, J-Mo, a laugher. They needed one of those, I would suspect. And I don't jinx these things, right? I mean, just because some people go, oh, you said that, you jinxed them. Like you say, hey, this guy's made 7 free throws in a row. He misses it. You whammied him.
How many shots did you take last night, Dave, on the floor?
Zippo.
0?
Yes.
So, no, I don't think you do jinx them.
No, and I did not make one technical call. I didn't tell anybody what defense to play. I didn't set up any kind of offense. Nothing. All I did was say what happened.
That's right.
I think they should have a laugher. I mean, all you have to do, and you shouldn't do these assumption games, right? But the truth is this. SMU is a bad basketball team. They have 2 wins this year in conference. You know who those 2 wins are against?
I have no idea.
They are against Tulsa. Do you know who Memphis plays on Sunday?
Tulsa.
Yes. So this should be an easy game against Tulsa, even if it is on the road. It'll be another emotional game because here we go. So we had Harris with USF. We had Cincy with Landers Nolly. Last night we had Kendrick Davis with his old team. And now on Sunday, Frank Haith goes back to the school that he was at for 7 or 8 years.
Well, one thing last night that impressed me is I was looking through the box score this morning. 25 assisted shots on 34 makes.
Bingo!
That is absolutely remarkable. That's great basketball. It means you're playing the right way, finding open guys.
Did you read my notes?
No, I did not.
Because I wrote that. 25 on 34 field goals made. But here's the other thing that you even when they missed, they created so many wide open looks because it was the best passing I have seen. Since they lost to UCF, they have really been a good basketball team. I know they've won 4 in a row. I'm not even looking at the W's. I'm just looking at the way they've played. They've defended against the 3 a whole lot better, which was a flaw. They've rebounded better. Now, some of this may be the teams they're playing, although I think Cincinnati's a pretty good team. But
on the road, too.
And on the road. To me, it is the way they are passing the basketball and understanding their roles. They defer when they have to Davis or to Williams. They get other people involved, and other people have stepped up. The Lawson brothers have gotten better, but the passing was really brilliant last night. That is for sure. And you had 5 guys in double figures. So you're getting more people involved. Now, keep in mind, SMU is a really bad team. Their net was 211. What if you look really quick? I meant to do this earlier. What is Memphis's net now? Because remember, they were 36 going into Cincinnati. They won the game and they were down at 39. What do they after the win today?
They went down again today. It's now down to 40.
See that isn't that terrible? Mm-hmm. You win a game and kill them. You cover the line, which was pretty extensive anyway. You win by 15 at home. And you lose a spot in the net.
It could have to do with Auburn's loss on Wednesday, too. But it was to A&M, and they played A&M as well.
Right,
so.
And they did. Now, they beat Auburn on a neutral, and they beat A&M at home. I don't know if that has any difference, because there would be, by net, a difference in where you played the game.
That's right.
I have no idea. You'd have to really look at all the teams that they played. It becomes very tedious, but that's why we have computers. And I guess there's an accuracy to them, but that's the problem. And now you're going to go, and it's going to be another quad 3 or probably a quad 4. Because I think what's the net in Tulsa? If you just click on the conference, it'll tell you. Right off the bat.
You're a smarter man than me. I know their KenPom ranking is 245.
I want to say their net's in the 260s, but I could be wrong.
Their nets is in the – I couldn't find the conference thing there.
So right at the top of that, if you there's a slot where you hit conference, and the first one to come up, because it's alphabetical order,
I did the thing
is the AAC.
I did the thing where I find the type in it and finds it on the page, and they're 286.
286, even worse. So you're definitely going to win that game and go down. Even if you win by 15, you're going to go down.
Possibly, probably so.
But then after that, you're only playing Tulsa once. That's a good thing.
The schedule after that is tough. I mean, they got a tough string of games for league play coming up after that.
So that'll be 5 in a row if they win that game, and then you've got Tulane, and that's a must-win game if you're going to get seeding, because their net's not terrible, and you owe them one. They beat you. You got to even it up. The same thing's going to be true of UCF. UCF just really gets up to play Memphis. I hate to say it. That's, all the coaches say, oh, it's their Super Bowl, whatever. UCF, when Memphis comes to town, they show up. They had a great crowd. Even in school, just come back, and they get into playing Memphis. They do. Now, I don't know what happened with Tulane. I can't, Tulane's actually not a bad team. Tulane stole one at Wichita State the other night, which I think actually is good for Memphis in the long run.
Well, I was surprised, too, also looking forward to this game at Tulsa now. Last night, SMU is a really small team. I mean, their biggest guy was what, 6'8" or something like that?
Can I tell you, yeah, they have 2 6'8" guys. Here's the weird thing. So Rob Lanier brings all these new transfers, and they have 7 new guys, and then there's 4 more on the team that were transferred in last year. So they really got 11 new guys. And he's got at least 3 6'11" players on the bench. And then last year, there's a guy that transferred from Loyola for Chicago who's a good player for Loyola. His name is Aganeni. He had a great game against Memphis in one of the 3 that the Tigers played them last year. I think the one in Dallas is where he was outstanding. He hasn't played at all. He's 6'9" and weighs about 250, maybe more. I don't know why. He's sitting all the big guys.
He's choosing to go small.
He is.
Well, I look forward to Tulsa, too. I looked this morning at their roster. They got 2 guys that are 6'8", and the next closest guy is like 6'4".
Yeah,
I didn't think it was possible to get smaller than SMU was last night, but Tulsa might be.
They're the worst team in the conference.
Really?
They are clearly the worst.
280 net, not surprising at all.
In the conference. Anyway, last thing on this. Guess who got into the top 25-1 by Parrish on CBS today?
The Tigers.
Yes, sir. 26.
Well, he's a Memphis guy, though.
Well, they weren't in before.
They weren't in before. So he hadn't made that distinction before. That's still big time that people are taking notice. You keep winning games like this on the road against good teams, you're going to get in there.
Yeah. All right, so the Grizz tonight, we're going to talk with Andy Schiffman coming up here in a couple of minutes. In the meantime, we're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and a reminder to all of you, they still have the floor model sale going on. So please get to I-40 and Wooden Road. See Billy, see Lindsay, see all the folks with the lowest prices of the year on pool tables, spas, patio, furniture, and even the game tables, including floor model arcades that start as low as $1,200. And you can get those trampolines installed now for $2,100. They got the safety nets. They're really good. Please head to I-40 and Wooden Road. See my friends at Family Leisure and take advantage of the floor model sale. We do a thing on Fridays called Pick 6 at about 16. We're already late for that. We'll start. Let's do the NBA, and then we'll get to the NFL. NBA, we tried to pick the best 4 games, and we're going to do more college basketball, but I couldn't find lines. But now I think, J-Mo, you've got that figured out?
A fellow named Greg Peterson, who, if you are a gambling person, he puts out every Vegas line every day. He makes his own, and he uses those to bet against the real Vegas line, so we can use those.
He's on that network that Brent Musburger and his brother started,
the VSiN
right?
next,
Yeah,
the Sports and Information, Vegas
Right.
Sports and Information.
Okay. All right, so let's start with the NBA. We'll save the Grizz for last. Milwaukee, -8.5 at Indy. I'm hopeful that Giannis is playing in this game.
He is, I believe.
Okay, then I'm going to go with the Bucks. I know it's a big line, but I will take Milwaukee.
I'm going to take the home team, the Pacers. They play really close at home. They've been playing really good basketball. They're trying to get in the playoffs. I'm going to take the Pacers +8.5.
All right, I didn't pick up any ground. We were both 2-4 last week. We differ on that one. Orlando is at Miami, 6.5. You know, Orlando's only won 6 games on the road. Miami needs this win. I'm going with the hometown Heat.
I think the Heat play a brand of basketball that could yield to the Magic keeping this game close. So I'm actually going to take the Magic +6.5 here.
All right.
A little Florida rivalry.
All right. Cleveland against OKC. That's a 1.5 Oklahoma City advantage. They're going to give it away. Hey, look, I think they're fun. I think they're young. They're a half a game out of the play-in. We're getting near the midway point. I think it'll mean more to them. I'm going to go with OKC.
I'm also going to Oklahoma City. You mentioned the play-in. I think they're in the play-in. They're going to be in the playoffs this year.
All right, and then finally the Grizz at Minnesota. I must confess I've gone back and forth on this one. But when I saw that Karl Anthony Towns was not going to play, and the Grizzlies are desperate to end this 4-game losing streak, and there is some rivalry to this, and, you know, Adams isn't playing, but if you recall, he's not a major piece in this one. So it's not as bad as other teams when you're missing Steven Adams. I'm going to go Grizz. I think they end the losing streak.
I have a stat for you. The Timberwolves are 7-1 in their last 8 home games. I'm going to take the Timberwolves even without Karl Anthony Towns. They got this young kid, Jaden McDaniels, who I like a lot. Kyle Anderson, revenge game tonight. And they have a player by the name of Matt Ryan, not the quarterback.
All right, so we differ on 3 of 4. To the NFL and the conference championship games, the final 4, you could say, as we get set to set up the Super Bowl. San Francisco at Philly. Brock Purdy, double check on this, but I was really going back. I don't think there's ever been a rookie that has gotten into the Super Bowl. Has there been a rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl?
Wasn't Ben Roethlisberger a rookie the year the Steelers made his first year?
I think he was the second-year guy.
Oh, look.
I do not believe that he took them the very first year that he was a player. Because he came in after somebody got injured, right? It was like second or third game, and then they realized what they had. I think that's the Roethlisberger story.
No, okay, so no rookie has ever taken their team to the Super Bowl.
You know what?
However, 2 players have won the Super Bowl in their first year as starters, Kurt Warner and Tom Brady.
But they weren't rookies.
They weren't rookies, though. That's true.
And you know that trend? That's going to continue. There's not going to be a rookie because Philadelphia, I just think is too good. I think they've got it all. Could be a big night for Kenny Gainwell. Jalen Hurts is going to establish himself even more. As much as I want San Francisco, I'm a Niners fan. I like Brock Purdy. I love that story. It's only 2.5, and most of the time the winner wins the game as well as covers. So I'm going to go along with that trend. I'm going to take the Eagles. I hope I'm wrong, but I think they win it, and that trend of no rookie in a Super Bowl is going to continue.
The Eagles have been the best football team all year in terms of record. They have a great offensive line, 3 starting running backs, some of the best receivers I've ever seen. Jalen Hurts manages the game so well with those guys. Their defense is really good and has been dominant all year. All signs are pointing to the Eagles. That being said, I'm taking the Niners.
I love it. San Francisco and JMO. And then, so you're taking the team on the road there. Cincinnati is at Kansas City. That line is going back and forth. Now, the Bengals have won 3 games in a row against Kansas City. Burrow's never lost to the Chiefs, but Patrick Mahomes is due. And I know he's got a bad ankle. So Andy Reid said in a press conference, this ankle injury is not as bad as the one he had a couple of years ago. You know what he did in the game a couple of years ago after he had a high ankle sprain?
What'd he do?
That was worse than this one.
What'd he do?
He threw for 500 yards. That's what he did, and that's what he's going to do tomorrow. He's going to go crazy. Kansas City's going to end that streak against Cincinnati.
I agree. I'm going to take the Chiefs in this one at home as well. I feel like way too many people are doubting the Chiefs, and for that reason, I like them.
All right. That means they're doomed because both of us agree on that one. And those are your Pick 6 at 6. Our title sponsor, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. That's the new home of the 90-day deferment payment. But I must warn you, this is coming to an end at the end of January. So please go down Highway 78. That's Lamar. First exit in Mississippi, like 10 minutes away, Craft Road. Turn left, go see Chris True and all the gang, and pick out any new Hyundai on the lot. That could be my Santa Fe. It could be the bigger Palisade. It could be the smaller Tucson. It could be a sedan, like the Elantra or the sporty Veloster. Any of those new cars, you can drive off the lot and don't worry about paying for 3 months. It's the 90-day deferment program going on right now at Homer Skelton Hyundai. All right. We've got to take a break. When we come back, Andy Schiffman on the National Basketball Association.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing is now currently hiring all positions. If you're ready to take your career to the next level, please apply today. Choate's is offering huge sign-on bonuses to seasoned technicians, plumbers, installers, and air duct cleaners. At Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing, we offer a career, not just a job, by putting you in a paid training program to develop your technical and customer service skills to best serve our customers. Choate's offers top pay in the Mid-South, weekly weekly pay, paid vacation and holidays, company matching retirement account, health, dental, vision, and life insurance, and Christmas, Thanksgiving, and birthday bonuses. If this sounds like an exciting opportunity for you, then we should talk. So call us at 347-8086 or apply online at CHOATSHVAC.com under the careers link. Come, join our family.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
We have a job to do. To protect the peace, the pride, and the people of our city. To realize our greatness together. To do the work that matters for ourselves, our families, our community. Do you have the strength to serve? Learn the true value of a challenging and rewarding career in law enforcement with the Memphis Police Department. Join the best in blue. Visit joinmpd.com.
Hi, everybody. Greg Gaston for FanDuel. Add a little excitement to your sports watching experience by betting on all the action on FanDuel Sportsbook. There's a reason why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Their app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, unique fun bet types like same-game parlays, and exclusive always-on promotions such as enhanced odds boosts on the biggest events that let you get more action out of every game day. And if you win, they even get you your winnings safely in as little as 24 hours. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started and be sure to sign up with promo code GASMAN so they know I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code GASMAN. Must be 21 or over and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit is required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions do apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Oh, man, are we ever busy on the NBA? Lots of things to talk about. We turn to our agent in Chicago, Memphian, Andy Schiffman, now with Priority Sports in the Windy City. Let's start with the NBA All-Stars. If I give you this list of the Western starters, it's LeBron, it's Curry, it's Doncic, it's Jokic. Nobody can argue that. Not Ja. Zion Williamson, who is always hurt.
Yeah.
Is that a big snub? Should Ja have been the guy?
Look, I think so. How can you argue with what he's doing in terms of being the absolute top point guard in the West, potentially really the whole NBA? Look, these all-star starters, Dave, it's a popularity contest. And Zion has already missed a good portion of the season, and he's starting. I'm not saying a guy like that is not worthy to be an all-star starter, but there's better players out there more deserving of those accolades. And I just think, again, like, what does all-star encompass? It's the individual performances for sure, but I do think there has to be part of it with team success. Now, I think you always hear team success tied into the MVP voting, and that's when it's more prominent, but I think you also have to take that into consideration. So for sure, I think Ja is a bit of a snub in terms of not being named a starter. I mean, you look at a guy like Domantas Sabonis and what Sacramento's doing.
Oh, yeah.
He's having an absolutely elite season, and he's playing just about every game with the Kings for the most part. So, yeah, I kind of do think that's a bit of a snub. And I know Jaw's going to have that chip on his shoulder, too.
My question for you is, if you're not a starter, that does not affect that bonus that he gets a max, right?
It does not affect his bonus for that regard to get a max, 30, I think jumped up to 35% of the salary cap. Correct.
I think
you just
for
have
him,
to be you have to be named the All-Star team.
If he maxes out, I think it's $43 million a year for 5 years, right?
Isn't that what the deal is? Jumped up to 35% of the salary cap, which is more than what he would be eligible for otherwise. A designated player, a designated extension is what it's called. So, yes, you can just be named to the All-Star team, which he is obviously, and first team All-NBA. I think he's going to probably be there as well. So he's going to get that by all accounts. What it could impact is a lot of times, Dave, in these shoe deals players have, depending on how you structure it, there might be, and even incentive compensation in the contract outside of those, what I just talked about in terms of jumping up to 35% of the salary cap. There are also bonuses there's a differentiation, let's say, between just being an all-star versus being an all-star starter. So that comes into play in those instances as well.
All right. In the East, Giannis, nobody's going to argue that. Durant, hard to argue. Irving, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum. Who's the snub in the East?
Oh, man. I'm just kind of looking here. That's a good question. I don't know if I have a huge snub going through the East and who should have been. I mean, Embiid, I think.
Embiid, Marcus Smart. Embiid for sure.
What about Julius Randle, Andy?
Yeah. With the Knicks.
I would probably put Embiid at the top. But again, when you talk about team performance, and the Knicks are having success this year, they're in the playoffs right now. I think you have to talk about Randall. You mentioned, say Marcus Smart, Dave. But yeah, I think Embiid's probably number one on that list.
All right. I wonder about tonight in the Grizz in Minnesota. Yeah. This has been a rough patch for the Grizz. And with the trade deadline looming, Danny Green's coming back. I guess we'll see. Do you see any moves the Grizz might make by the trade deadline? And what do you think? I know the Lakers already made their move. What are the biggest moves you think we will see?
Well, first off, I don't think the Lakers are done dealing necessarily. I mean, you saw that deal they made to acquire Rui Hachimura from the Wizards and move Kendrick Nunn and some draft picks. But obviously, look, you've got still about almost 2 weeks left until the trade deadline. And so I still think you could see some movement there. With the Grizzlies, I think Memphis fans would probably love to see Zach in the front office pull the trigger on some moves. I don't think you need to. The only viable move that I think could make some sense is if they could move Danny Green. But again, you think about what that would entail. If you move him, his full salary of around, I want to say close to $10 million,
that's what it is,
fully guaranteed. And so that becomes a little easier to move because you can take back more at that number. But what do you need? In my opinion, the Grizzlies, you need shooting off the bench, and that's what Danny Green provides. You're not going to have the ball in Danny Green's hands when he is healthy, which by all accounts he is, and he should be making his return pretty soon. You're not going to expect him to go out there and play 20, 25 minutes and have the ball and make decisions out of the pick and roll and be putting the ball on the floor. His whole reputation in the league is based on, hey, you know what? Stand in the corner, stand in the wing, catch and shoot. And he can do that. So why would you all of a sudden look elsewhere? And I think the other thing, we've talked about it, why would you move a guy that by all accounts is a very good locker room piece, good veteran leadership? He's been on high-level teams, obviously. He knows how to win. The guy is a winner and is a really likable teammate. Why would you disrupt team chemistry?
I'll tell you.
What purpose?
The only reason why would be if you could find another 3-and-D guy that was in his league, you could do that because he's 35 and he's coming off major knee surgery. You don't know. That's the only reason why. Here's one other piece I think the Grizz could use, and that is a backup to Steven Adams, a true 5 backup, because I don't think Tillman really is.
Well, look, they do have a lot of bigs, but again, like Santi is going to probably play more 4. You can
Yeah.
put him out there a lot of times.
He's
with
a
Jaron.
4. Brandon Clark is really
Brandon's
a 4.
a 4. He started the 4 the other night with Jaron. Right, Xavier. He is a small ball flag, if you want to call it that. He's not going to be an imposing presence like Steven Adams. There are big bodies out there that are very attainable. But, what do you give up to acquire that? They'd have to get off of someone and create a roster spot or move someone. I don't know. Danny Green, he's not going to be one to be traded. Not that he has any say in it, but again, guy like that traded to an Orlando, a Detroit, OKC, his value is on a playoff team. And to some extent, I think it's good that the Grizzlies are able to work him in a few games prior to the trade deadline, because by your point, Dave, if things aren't going well, then maybe there's a higher sense of urgency to move him. But again, no one's really, you have to probably incentivize the team to take him back, right? Because just to your point, I think right now he has a lot of value in the Grizzlies. They've been the ones rehabbing him, developing him, getting him back to full strength. If you move him, I don't know if there's another team out there that would covet him just as Memphis would. I don't know. You probably have to potentially talk about packaging a draft pick to move Danny, depending on what you're going to get back. So I just say, hey, don't rock the boat. I don't think he's a pivotal piece right now. I think he's a nice complementary piece. But again, we'll see what happens with Steven Adams out. Obviously, the last 4 games, it hasn't been going well. But these are not cupcake teams the Grizzlies are playing. These are all road games against very good opponents. They got Minnesota tonight. They're right around the 500 mark. That's not going to be a walk in the park. I know they rested Ja. I think it was the Lakers game maybe, where it was back-to-back. So, again, this is not like they're falling to Detroit, Orlando, Indiana against, at home. I mean, this is part of the NBA season. This is the grind of the NBA season. Every team goes through this. So I'm not hitting the panic button by any means. I'm not looking at this and saying, okay, they absolutely have to be active at the deadline to get this piece or that piece because they're on a tough 4 or 5 game stretch here. I think they can recoup. They got Pacers at home on Sunday. We'll see how tonight goes, but they can kind of regroup and be comfortable getting back home. And look, they're still second in the West. So they're really not faltering. The West is just so truncated and packed right there where there's a very thin margin of wins and losses separating the top few teams to all of a sudden down to a New Orleans or down to teams in the 10th, 11th, 12th spot right now in the West.
All right, last thing. Charles Barkley made a comment about load management and how soft sort of today's players are. Mm-hmm. Steve Kerr has said there's too many games in the regular season. We should cut down maybe to 72, I think is the number that he has put out there. And we hear all the time now about how the NBA is saying, well, we do this load management stuff because science tells us. Well, here's what science tells me. Science tells me if you've got to rest people during the regular season, you have too many games in the regular season. What from an agent's point of view, because if let's say they get to 72, so there's no more back-to-backs, and you don't really have to load manage like we all do now, you would probably have to take a cut in pay, whatever that percentage is. How do you think, and you would know you're an agent of NBA players, how would they react to that? You go, hey, guys, we're going to we're cutting out 12 games, but we've got to lose 10% of our pay because of it.
So I completely understand the league's viewpoint of resting guys and managing it. And I understand when there's comments made out in the media about there's too many games, from coaches, et cetera, there's too many games. This is why you see guys like Steph or like Ja. You see these Luka. He got injured last night against Phoenix. You see these guys resting in back-to-backs pretty consistently now to avoid injuries. And so I think when you're, as an agent, right, when I talk to players about that concept, generally speaking, there is this unanimous thought that, there are probably too many games during this season because you think about it. You go from informal workouts throughout the month of September, right into training camp, right into preseason, right into a full NBA 82-game schedule, right into the playoffs. And many of these players, and it was talked about pretty heavily years ago, I know LeBron was at the forefront of it. I think it was potentially right right when they were starting back up after COVID, trying to determine when the season would start. For a lot of players, there's very little downtime. And for younger players, there's even less. For a young player on a playoff team, if he's not going to be playing a lot, but he's still going to be practicing, he's still going to be doing his pregame and postgame workouts well into middle of April or May. And if he's not getting game action, a lot of times those players are expected to go out there and play in Summer League, which you're going to be playing a lot of minutes. And that can be a little bit grueling on the body as well. And then again, you go into, okay, maybe I'll have the rest of July off in August, right into workouts again with my team. There is a lot of basketball being played throughout the whole calendar year, and it's very physically grueling and obviously on the body. But whenever this conversation comes up with players that I represent, at least, no one wants to give up pay. No one I work with has ever said to me, you know what, if we have to give up 10% of our salary to take a 10-game cut during the season and space out the games more, I'd be all for it. No one wants to do that. And I don't think the Players Association will ever agree to that. I think there potentially are other ways to manage load management, let's say, and manage the number of games during an 82-game season to make it less cumbersome and bothersome on the body. But I don't think the solution is, okay, let's just give up 10 games and we'll agree to give up pay. I don't think that will happen.
Well, I don't see why a player would, because the way the contracts are written now, they get paid for not playing. So
yeah, exactly.
it make no sense at all. Anyway, interesting food for thought. I just still say you got to make the season longer, because there's no way in my mind that if you have to diminish your own quality of regular season, then you're not scheduling correctly. It's as clear as day, at least in my mind.
And I think there's just way too many back-to-backs still. I know the league has tried to address that over the last year or two, and they've had different committees talk about that, and they've met with the Players Association about that. But I still think you see too many. I think you see long road trips. Wouldn't be opposed to just tacking on a couple more weeks of the season and spacing games out. And I don't really think anybody would complain about that if that's the solution that's easier on players' bodies without having to give up any compensation.
I would agree with that, Andy Shipman. I usually agree with whatever you say. Always good talking with you. We'll do it again next Friday.
All right, thanks, Dave. Have a good weekend.
That's our man, Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports in Chicago. He's brought to you by Sheldon. That's Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf. If you're thinking of improving your home, because sooner or later you're going to sell it, he'll tell you the exact renovations you should make so that in the future you'll make more money. It's all based on recent data, but here's the thing. You know I brag about Sheldon all the time with that strategic marketing program involving preparation and presentation. Here's the thing. He changes his strategy depending on what the market is doing. It's not one set in stone. He works it all the time. That's 24/7, 365. He's crazy. He works hard, but he stays on top of all this to alter that strategy to the best of your interest. It's cool. Go see it. MemphisRelocate.com. Then call Sheldon 483-0546. Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf. We take a break. When we come back, Brian Dacus will join us. I got to find out what he thinks. If you put the class of freshmen coming in and all of the transfers, where is Memphis pertaining to the American and even nationally? Brian Dacus, and you hear him every day on Sportstime with Stats and with Gabe. He comes your way in a minute.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You've heard of James Gaddis Jewelers, but have you heard what they've done lately? Everything. A tremendous selection of diamonds and jewels, gold, silver, and much more. Lots of watches, tons of custom-made jewelry, fine gemstones, bracelets, necklaces, so many choices. Romantics will love the one-of-a-kind estate and vintage jewelry. James Gaddis has experts to help you with wedding and engagement rings, plus 2 repair experts for fine watches and jewelry. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers at 4900 Poplar.
It's time to get your Kia on at Gossett Kia on the Pike. And Bobby J is ready to put you in a new Kia today. You ready for a road trip? How about 41 MPG Highway and your new 2023 Kia Forte LXS? $254 a month, 36-month lease, $27.99 due at signing. Or rock out in your new 2023 Kia Soul. Only $272 a month, 36-month lease, $27.99 due at signing. And if we don't have what you want, not a problem. Let Bobby J order a new ride for you today, and you won't pay over MSRP. Plus, you always get Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Ask for Bobby J. He'll put you in a new Kia today at Gossett Kia, 1900 Covington Pike, or shop 24/7 at KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Forte LXS PE 573,573, MSRP 21,335, Soul P 789,935, MSRP 21,835. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax, title, and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 1/31/2023. Dealer stock only. Warranties and limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
We say it all the time. Bell Tavern is one thing above all, a bar. It's a wood-paneled haven to have a signature cocktail or something from the widest selection of bourbon, whiskey, and scotch downtown by far. But Bell Tavern has one advantage other bars can't boast: access to the menu at 117 Prime. There are no other bars in Memphis, much less downtown, that offer machina beef carpaccio or a one-of-a-kind butcher's platter to go along with that perfect cocktail. Bell Tavern is above all a bar. It just happens to have some of the best food downtown.
Every year, first responders are injured or killed by vehicle strikes while responding to emergency calls. When you see police, fire, or ambulance, slow down, yield, and move over. Faster response times can help save a life, including your own. Move over, Memphis. It's the law.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. Last segment of our week. Been an interesting week. Tigers basketball team seems to be playing at its peak. The football team added a couple of more players through the portal. They also signed a player in high school that was pretty good. They lost, apparently, a player that never got here. He was, I guess he played at like Georgia Tech, and then he was coming here, and then he decided to go to junior college. Bryant Dacus, you know. You listen to him. He's on Sportstime with Gabe and Stats every day from 3 to 6, but he also has written for several of the recruiting sites for schools on the web. And so I'm going to defer to his expertise because I think when you look, Memphis's portal rating is not really all that good. I was surprised to see that, but I'd love for your eyes. You tell me, when it comes to the combination of the portal and the recruiting class, how do you think Memphis really did compared to maybe other teams in the region, nationally, or when it comes to the American? How did they do?
Well, I think they did pretty well, all things considered. I mean, you look at what they're bringing in. We've talked about it before. I think we talked about it last week. Just kind of all the experience and Power 5 experience that they're bringing in. I think especially at this level in the American Conference with the teams that are joining, I think they'll, probably with this experience, you got to think they'll be sitting close to the top. Obviously, you got Tulane still in the conference, so you think they'll be pretty good after what they did last year. And then UTSA team that's coming in, they'll be pretty good. But, I mean, I think they've had a really good offseason bringing guys in. You talk about the recruits they've brought in. I think they have some guys that you might be able to see get some time here and there, maybe like you saw with a Sutton Smith last year, but mostly guys that you can kind of sit and develop behind all of this experience they have coming in. But I think the biggest thing is the experience that they've brought in.
Do you know how it ranks within the conference?
I'm not sure exactly where they sit with the transfers. They're pretty high when it comes to just recruiting class in general. They're definitely top 2 or top 3 in terms of just recruiting class. I'm not sure how the transfer portal ranks with them, but you've got to think it ranks pretty high. I know a lot of these guys who have bounced around from a couple schools, they don't grade as high on a lot of these recruiting websites just because they're transfers. And third-year guys out of college. But I think when they get on campus, I think that's the big thing, get them on campus in the spring, kind of get them comfortable with the system. And I'm excited for what this team could be this year.
Well, and I know you have to really sort of be careful and temper the way you think about these classes. I do believe, as I looked at it, I think Silverfield did an excellent job on paper of replacing whatever he lost. Again, I don't know if you were able to replace Cameron Jackson or Caden Prescorn, but other places like the loss of Ivory or Lewis, I think you did fine with what you got in the portal in that regard. But I do think you have to temper with how well they all play together and everything else. Because I look, last year, didn't Ole Miss have like the top transfer portal class in the country? And, after the 7-0 start, that didn't work out so well. So you really have to be, I guess you have to temper your enthusiasm based on just portal numbers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think your example with Ole Miss is a perfect one, because you saw what everyone was talking about them for preseason was the biggest, the best bowls and a New Year's Six bowl, and then they come out really hot, and then it just kind of faded towards the end of the season. So I definitely think you see what they did on paper. You're very excited for it, but it's all about how they can come together in the spring. This is going to be an extremely important spring for Ryan Silverfield and that staff, because they lost a lot of talent, a lot of guys that they were going to depend on, and they're bringing in new guys to replace that. And so it's going to be a lot of from the ground up kind of building that chemistry among position groups and among players and coaches. So this is a really, really important spring and on into summer.
I think so. The way the schedule sets up, though, it should be a very good football season. So I really do look forward to that. All right, give me your take on last night. Total domination by the U of M. Penny's 100th win. Also, his first technical foul. Pat Adams just bugs me because sometimes I think he has to be the show, and nobody has paid a penny to watch him officiate. I promise. Yeah,
nobody's coming to see Pat Adams, but I think it was Chandler Lawson last night after the game that was talking about Penny getting his first tech. And he was asked, have you ever seen Penny get a tech, because he's been with him so long? And he made a great point saying that, most of these officials are fans of Penny Hardaway. They watched him play in the NBA, and so it's hard, and especially just how kind of friendly and nice he is with officials and people in general, that it could be hard for officials to give him a T. And I know in years he's wanted to get that technical, but overall I thought it was a great game. It's a game I think Memphis needed. They needed one of these games where from start to finish it wasn't in question. Everyone knew they were going to win that game and win it pretty big. I know there were probably some people worried towards the end about their betting line, but just domination.
They
like
covered.
You said,
They
covered. They did cover. But it was getting a little tight there at the end. But it was a great game. I think from start to finish, you look over 50% from the field all game, and in both halves you shot over 50%. It's just a game they needed, and we talked about it last week, stringing those wins together. And those performances together. And so I really liked what they did last night.
I love the way they're passing the basketball and how they've corrected some of the deficiencies with guarding the perimeter and allowing too many threes. I am really heightened by it. And then, they've got a Tulsa team. They're going to be double-digit favorites to beat even on the road. And then it gets exciting. Then you've got a week off, and you've got Tulane, and that's a game that has to be a statement game. They have to continue to play well, and they really need to handle Tulane because Tulane got them. And honestly, Memphis, that might have been Memphis's poorest game of the year, the one in New Orleans on New Year's Day. Yeah, you're right. And like you said, Tulsa coming up this weekend. It's not a good Tulsa team, a Tulsa team that they should roll over. But then it's going to be an important week, that Tulsa game. They're going to be ready for it. I think you saw how well Tulane shot the three in that last game. That's going to be a big priority, is defending that three and just rebounding again. But hopefully by then, maybe we're closer on these injury fronts, and maybe you can have some more depth in the front court for that game against Tulane. He is Brian Takis. You can listen to him every day with the guys from 3 to 6 on Sportstime with Gabe and with Stats. Thank you, Brian. We'll talk again next Friday. Thanks, Dave. Brian Takis is brought to you in part by another great Tiger supporter. That would be Matt Eflin and his team, Grant Andrew Heath. What they do is protection. It's the Eflin Insurance team, and that's what they do. They collaborate with you. They get to know you. They know what your budget is. They know what's important to protect, and they find the right coverage, whether that is in life insurance policy, whether it's an auto program, maybe it's your home insurance. They take care of you. They'll do the same thing if you've got a small to mid-sized business. That's their specialty when it comes to commercial insurance. They get to know you. They get to know what your product is all about, what the assets are, what your long-term forecast is, what your budget is to protect it. Then they pick out the perfect protection, and there you go. You're set, and you can feel a sense of security, I promise. Just call. That number is 901-386-4777. That spells out GUR because they're big Tiger supporters. 901-386-4777. That's the number for the Eflin Insurance team. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk again on Monday. Johnny Radio is next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Woloshin here for Home